Most people think about emotional intelligence as a skill, something you can build and train with practice. And while this is partly true, there's a deeper truth about emotional intelligence that most of us miss. Improving your emotional intelligence is often about what you do less of, not more of. As a psychologist, I work with many people who look like though they don't have much emotional intelligence. They blame other people for their problems, they trap themselves in cycles of stress and anxiety, they self-sabotage as soon as they start to make progress. But it's my experience that most people don't actually lack the capacity for emotional intelligence. In fact, I think most people already have a high degree of emotional intelligence. Unfortunately, many people are held back from using their innate emotional intelligence by a collection of bad habits that get in the way. If you'd like to improve your emotional intelligence, learn to identify these habits in your own life and work to eliminate them. I think you'll find that your natural emotional intelligence is not far behind. 1. Criticizing others. Criticizing others is often an unconscious defense mechanism aimed at alleviating our own insecurities. We're all critical sometimes. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. To think carefully and critically about the world around us is a vital skill. It helps us navigate the world and our relationships in an objective way. But too much criticism, especially the habit of being critical of others, can lead to the opposite of objectivity. It can make us narrow-minded and blind, especially to ourselves. One of the reasons it's so easy to slip into habitually criticizing others is that it makes us feel good. When you point out to yourself that someone else is dumb, you're also implying that you're smart. And that feels good. When you criticize someone else for being naive, what you're really doing is telling yourself that you're sophisticated. And that feels good. When you silently chuckle to yourself about how terrible someone's fashion sense is, you're telling yourself how refined your own taste is. And that feels good. 2. Worrying about the future. Worrying about the future means living in denial about the fundamentally uncertain nature of life. As human beings, we crave order and certainty. And for good reason. Our ancestors who were better at making their lives a little less uncertain probably survived longer than those who didn't. We're biologically motivated to reduce uncertainty. But there's a big difference between taking reasonable steps to reduce uncertainty and being so terrified by it that we delude ourselves into believing we can eliminate it altogether. And that's what chronic worriers do. They're so afraid of uncertainty, and so unwilling to live with it, that they trick themselves into thinking they can make the future less uncertain, by thinking about it constantly. Chronic worriers live under the illusion that thinking is always problem-solving and that planning always leads to greater levels of preparedness. But neither of those are true. Just because you're thinking about a problem doesn't mean you're thinking about it productively. And just because you're planning, running through countless hypothetical future scenarios, doesn't mean you're any better equipped to handle them. Often, you're just making yourself feel more prepared. 3. Ruminating on the past. Ruminating on past mistakes is a misguided attempt at control. Just like we humans crave order and certainty, we also crave control. We're obsessed with the idea that, with enough effort and perseverance, we can do or achieve anything. Of course, most people who get stuck ruminating endlessly on past mistakes and failures don't actually believe that they can change the past. Instead, ruminating about the past gives them the illusion of control, however fleeting and temporary. When you've done something bad or made a mistake in the past, you naturally feel guilt and regret. Chronic ruminators develop the unconscious habit of constantly replaying past mistakes because it briefly gives them a feeling of control. And feeling in control helps distract from feeling helpless, which is what we really are when it comes to past mistakes. In reality, no amount of rumination or analysis of your past mistakes will change what happened. Which means helplessness and powerlessness are inevitable. This is a hard fact of life that emotionally intelligent people not only understand, but accept. 4. Maintaining unrealistic expectations. Unrealistic expectations are a misguided attempt to control other people. Just like ruminating is an attempt to control the past and how we feel about it, maintaining unrealistic expectations is usually a subtle attempt to control other people. Of course, most people with unrealistic expectations don't see it that way. You probably see your expectations of other people as a good thing. Having high expectations for people encourages them to grow and mature and become their best self.